Hey guys, it's Morni. So I do realize that it's been over a month since I've recorded and released a podcast episode. Totally my fault, but I'm not here to give excuses. Just been busy with, adult stuff, working, and then on my days off, I'm either writing or working on this course that I'm doing. Just like to do a quick shout out to everyone that's called me out or messaged me on not releasing a podcast. Your support means a lot to me, and I hope I make you proud. So, without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. So, this episode is going to be about equality in relationships. Like I mentioned in my intro episode, equality in relationships is super important to me. I'm constantly talking about it and how important it is because I don't see enough of it in the South Asian community. So, today we'll be discussing what equality in relationships is, what I see in the South Asian community, how I was raised, how my parents raised me into becoming who I am, where I think all of this gendered nonsense stems from. I'm going to be discussing my own story with my boyfriend and how our relationship started. And lastly, what needs to change in order to achieve equality in our relationships. So I'm constantly talking about equality in relationships, but what does that mean? For me, it just means teamwork, being able to work together to provide a good life for each other, respect each other, and just know that each person's interests, desires, and opinions are respected and met. Whereas inequality would be when one partner's needs are dominating the relationship and it creates a dominant subordinate dynamic. That's where inequality starts, and that's where one person, the subordinate, feels like their opinions and their interests don't matter and aren't being heard. So, I'm going to be talking about what I see in the South Asian community. And I do know that I have a lot of friends and people who aren't South Asian that listen to this. But why I like to talk about South Asian problems so much, even though it could relate to you, but the reason why I like to talk about it so much is because I don't feel like there are enough voices out there talking about issues in the South Asian community. And I feel like it's the more there are, the better. So me talking about it doesn't take away from another culture's experience. You guys could be experiencing the same thing, but I just want to kind of focus more on South Asian communities just so it's like a voice, a voice so that people feel like I'm validating what they're experiencing and I'm helping people to be hopeful and to also kind of reflect on their personalities and their own lives and realize that they can be better, So that's why I'm focusing more on the South Asian community. So basically, what I've seen in the South Asian community is that boyfriends and husbands control and regulate their girlfriends or wives' dressing style, their finance, and their careers. I noticed that so much and it pisses me off because these men are under the impression that when they claim, I'm doing air quotes right now, they're women, that these women have to give up their agency to their own body. And these men start choosing what their girlfriends or wives can wear, where they go, who they're friends with, what they do with their money. So yeah, I've noticed that in the South Asian community in specific. I've noticed that women do all domestic chores. Guys just come home, kick off their shoes, chill in front of the TV, and expect food to be there for them. I know that there has been a lot of change since the 1950s, the honey, I'm home trope. But I do know that in a lot of South Asian families, this is still the case, and a lot of people don't question it. I've noticed that there's an unspoken divvying up of roles. So the man provides and the woman nurtures, but no one really talks about it. Like when you get into a relationship, you don't talk about it. It's like some natural, like it's unspoken, like, yeah, you are going to protect me and you are going to provide for me, and don't worry, like I'll keep the house front safe. I'll do all the cooking and cleaning and whatnot. It's like, why don't we ever talk about this? I had a cousin who went to we're Catholic, right? So before getting married, there's this 1 year course that you have to do like every other Sunday or something. So you go in and there's like two counselors, mostly a married couple, that talk to all the couples that are going to get married. And I remember my cousin told me that one of the questions was, who's going to do all the chores? Like, how are you guys going to split it up? And that prompted my cousin to have that conversation with her partner, who's going to do the chores. What chores are you going to do? What chores am I going to do? We don't discuss this enough in South Asian families. It's like we just go into the marriage thinking that the woman's going to do all the house chores. But I think it's very important to talk about this stuff when you're in relationships, before you tie yourself down and get settled. And another thing I've noticed is that at parties, I know all my South Asian fam can relate to this. Women stay near the kitchen with all the munchies and serving food and whatnot. And men sit in a room and drink. So look at that dynamic. Women serve and men sit back and enjoy. That has been the trope since the fucking beginning of time. And I don't know why we don't question it. I don't know why not enough people are standing up and combating this, In my own family, like, it took years before we broke that stereotype. Like now I pull up with my uncles. I'm like, yo, what up? You want to pour me a drink? My dad pours me a drink, and it's like, I can see that my family is going to change the dynamic that we've had for years now, like growing up, my uncles would all be in one like room drinking and talking and whatnot, but the kids would never go, right? Even the older kids, the ones who could drink, they would never go out of respect. Oh no, it's just like, it's uncle's territory. And then like the older guy cousins would eventually go in there, get a drink, walk out, and it would be normal. But lo and behold, when a woman does it, when a girl does it, it's the biggest thing, But now I slowly see it changing. And I feel like more families need to start accepting that it's fucking 2020 and it's time to change up our community and our tradition just a bit, In my own household, growing up, I saw that my mom was the one that cooked a lot, and my dad would help her here and there, but mostly it was my mom. And like I said, it was almost like an unspoken rule that my mom would do most of the cooking. She never complained about it, but I started noticing more as a teenager, and I was like, hold up. But the thing about our parents is that they've become comfortable with this sort of arrangement, and there is really no changing that. So, but I do know that they've both discussed what they like and don't like doing. For example, my dad will clean the house. He doesn't mind vacuuming and mopping and stuff. My mom hates mopping, but she doesn't mind doing the laundry. So it's kind of like there's a balance, like they've talked about what household chores they like to do, and I like that. I think it's super important to talk to your partner just to know what they're comfortable doing, and letting them know what you're comfortable doing and not doing. And if both of you aren't comfortable, then learning how to compromise and coming to a conclusion about who's going to do what. Equality is important that way because you respect each other's feelings, and that is crucial. So the question boils down to, where does this stem from? Because I know there's no like textbook out there explaining how South Asians are supposed to act once they get married. And what I came to realize was that children were seeing what their parents were doing growing up, and they were reproducing the same lifestyle once they were married. So basically, men expected their wives to take care of all the domestic chores, and they took on the financial responsibility, while women, wives, expected their husbands to be the primary breadwinners, and they took on domestic roles without any complaints because these adults saw what their parents were doing as children, and they just came to terms with, okay, this is how life is supposed to be, this is what my role is, and they just kind of fell into it. As a society, especially I'd say South Asians, we copy what we see with our parents and we rarely question it. But that's because our parents raise us this way. You ever notice how the son can do whatever he wants? He can go wherever he wants. He can sleep in. He doesn't have to cook or clean, and he's babied. Even if he wants to cook, even if he wants to clean, usually the mom will be like, no, son, like just sit there. You don't have to do anything. Whereas daughters, we have to grow up faster. We have to learn how to cook and clean, and we have to help when guests are over. Oh my God, the amount of times growing up when we had a guest over and my mom would be like, Renisha, come downstairs, help me with this, help me with that. And I'm just staring at my brother like, the fuck? What about him? Take turns. I had to have those difficult conversations with my parents. I had to tell my mom, look, you are making me do all the work. Whereas Krishan, my brother, is just sitting there and, playing his video games. He's so chill. He doesn't have to come down. He doesn't have to be bothered with any of this. And that's when my mom started realizing that there was an issue there. Not that they gendered us growing up. They really didn't. But when it came to small incidents such as this, I noticed that. And I had to have conversations with her. And I realized that parents, their excuse is that girls mature faster. No, I completely disagree with that. I feel like we're forced to because of the lousy low standards parents hold to boys. Boys can be immature and, boys will be boys. But girls, it's like, you don't want to be like that. You're the more responsible one. You're very mature. You hype us up, making us think that we're more responsible than our counterparts, right? But then you're putting a big load on us, and you're allowing boys to get away with a lot more, which means in the future, when we are adults, when we start our own relationships and get married, boys don't know how to cook and clean. They're men now, but they don't know how to take care of themselves. So when they get into relationships or they get married, they expect their wives to do what their mother was doing for them, babying them. And that's not right. And until our generation acknowledges this and accepts it as the truth, honestly, nothing's going to change. We have to change future generations. But in order for that to happen, we have to admit that our society, we have a problem. We have an issue of babying boys and making girls do all the housework. And we need to push for a change in future generations. So now my own journey of falling in love. Being the way I was, I made sure I knew exactly what I was looking for. I didn't want to settle with anyone because honestly, I'd rather be single than being stuck with a sexist guy. And I was confident that I would find someone that met my standards. And at that point in time, I was in university, and honestly didn't want to end up with a Tamil guy. And I know that's wrong of me to categorize all Tamil guys because I mean, I have Tamil cousins, I have two Tamil brothers. They don't fit that Tamil guy stereotype that I had in my head, and I always kind of rationalized it with, oh, they're my family, so obviously like they're different. I had an impact on them. I talked to them about these conversations, so obviously they're not going to be sexist, right? But a lot of the Tamil guys that I did encounter in university were kind of sexist and still had traditional mindsets, and I was like, yo, this isn't going to work, and I'm not interested in it. So I kind of blocked out all Tamil guys, and I was like, I'm not gonna end up with a Tamil. And I did tell my mom that. I told her, I'm like, Amma, I hope you know, like, set your mind to it. I probably won't end up with a Tamil guy, and I know you're gonna be upset by that, but change my mind. And when I finally did meet my boyfriend, I was going through a fuck love, I don't need no long-term relationship to make me happy phase. And when I met him, it was crazy because he is Tamil and I have to like, eat my own words because here's the girl who didn't want to end up with the Tamil for how many years, and then she meets a Tamil guy and look what happened. So without going into it from the start, I'll kind of be brief. With my boyfriend, I met him when I went to a wedding in France, and I stayed there for 1 month. And he was a family friend, so I kind of knew him from before, and we kind of just hit it off after the wedding. We hung out almost every day. And we got the chance to ask each other anything and everything just to get to know each other. And I was mind blown to meet such a progressive and open-minded Tamil guy outside of the guys in my family. I know that's very controversial. There's a lot of Tamil guys out there. I don't have a lot of Tamil guy friends, but that's because the ones I met in university were just like not for me. They'd say sexist statements and I was like, all right, I'm done, So to meet a Tamil guy like that who was so progressive, who had feminist ideals, I was shook. So from the start, I was 100% straight up in myself. And my mindset at that time was, I mean, if he doesn't like it, then it's his loss. I'm looking to find a guy who likes me for me and someone that I can be 100% comfortable with. I don't need to hide any part of my personality, So I talked to him a lot about my upbringing and how against traditional society I was. And I was pretty surprised to find out that he had the same mindset as me. And I wasn't afraid to tell him that I was a feminist. And by feminist, I don't mean, like the extreme feminism where I hate men. No, feminism legit just means wanting gender equality. So I explained to him that this was me, this is a part of me, and this is how I view the world. Everything that I look at from a feminist point of view. And he agreed with a lot of the stuff that I was saying. And a lot of conversations that we had, he grew up with two brothers, so he didn't have a sister. He didn't get to see differentiations with his parents, treating their daughter differently than their son. He never had that. So when I explained that this was how it is in a lot of South Asian families, it was a topic that he had never thought about. So he started thinking about it and we started having those conversations. In a relationship, I think it's really important to show who you are earlier on. Like, there's no need to hide aspects of your life because you're scared that you're going to scare them off, basically. And I think it's very important to just be true to yourself, because if you do lie in the beginning, you're going to find yourself in a situation where your partner expects you to be the image that you were portraying, but you don't really identify with that. And so you have to continue lying, or within a few months you have to show your true colors, and they may or may not accept that, So with me, when I was getting to know my boyfriend for the first month, I mean, that 1 month that I was in France, I was totally myself. I told him everything that was important to me, and I told him I'm hardcore for gender equality, to the point where I told him, like, if I were to go on a first date, I would want to split the bill. Like, I hate that traditional fucking notion that a guy is supposed to pay the bill. Like, fuck that, man. So I told him that, and then we ended up going on a first date. And where did we go? If anyone knows us, you know us to be shisha lovers. So obviously our first date was at a shisha place. And so this was the first time that we were hanging out without any of our friends or my cousins around. So it was just the two of us. And after we finished our sesh, he pulls out his wallet, and I'm like, no, I got this. And he's like, what? Do you want to split it then? I'm like, no, it's okay. I got it. And I don't know. I just did it because I felt like, not that I needed to prove something, but just for my self-satisfaction, you know? It's like, we don't need none of this gendered bullshit. Like, I got both of us this time. Next time we go out, you got us, you know? And that's what I mean by gender equality. Like, that teamwork and putting in the effort. Both of us hustle. Both of us pay for shit. I don't expect you to pay for me all the time. I don't need to feel like a princess. I don't need that. And he doesn't feel the need to pull out his wallet every single time and be like, I'm the provider. I'm going to provide for you. We don't have that at all. And I believe that relationships that adopt this kind of mentality are going to go far, because there's no tension when it comes to money and financial responsibility. So, what needs to change in society to achieve equality in relationships? I understand that not every potential partner that you meet is going to be like my boyfriend. I definitely lucked out. We both lucked out. Is that a cocky thing to say? I don't care. We both lucked out. But I believe that in order to achieve equality, women have to raise their standards, expect men to split housework. Have you ever noticed when a woman, a mom, is going out and she tells her friends, my husband is babysitting the kids? Honey, that's not babysitting. He's doing his job as a dad, and you need to expect that, you know? Second point, men have to stop expecting their wives to take over for their mom. So I understand that, you know, some men were babied by their moms for a really long time, but when you get a wife and you move in together and you're creating a life and a family together, you need to do half the household work, you know? It's a team effort. I don't know how many times I said that in this, but it's a team fucking effort, okay? You have to stop looking at housework as work, right? And taking care of babies as a woman's job. They're both of your jobs. You're both juggling the household together. If you love this person, you will work together as a team, and you will never make them feel like they're doing most of the work. I'm assuming, because I'm not married myself, but in a lot of relationships where there's a power dynamic, I feel like women feel like they're doing a lot more of the housework, and it feels like a burden to them, even though they've kind of accepted the subordinate role. And men feel like he's providing all the money, but his wife, when she asks to go shopping and stuff, it's like men maybe kind of have the feeling that it's their money, you know, and their wife is going out and spending it and whatnot. So it's like, there's a struggle there. There's an internal struggle. Do you want to say it? Do you not want to say it? And if you do say it, is it going too far? What's going to happen then, you know? So it's better to get everything on the table, to work together as a fucking team and move forward. And there is no tension there when it comes to all like housework and money and whatnot. Equality in relationships is all about dividing everything equally. We live in a time and generation where both husbands and wives have to work to bring income in. So how can you expect the wife to take care of all the domestic duties and work a full-time or part-time job? That shouldn't be legal, you know? But if men understand this and help out their wives at home, that is your job as a husband, you know? It's like you're taking care of the house as well. So both of you working together, that is like OG couple goals. Most of all, you guys have to stop carrying around these outdated ideals. I understand maybe like it worked with our parents, their generation, because they just got used to it, you know? We are a totally different generation. We grew up in a different culture, right? And we need to own that. And we need to prove that we are better. You know, we can work towards being better partners. So remember, it's not a woman's duty to cook, clean, run the house, and it's not a man's duty to be the sole financial provider. Stop holding each other to these ideals, because you're always gonna have an internal battle, you know, like thinking about how your spouse or your partner isn't providing nearly as much as you. If you're single, I just like to say, when you start dating, make sure you talk to your potential partner about gender equality and how you want your ideal relationship to look. I think that's really important to set the standard and just let these people know. And if your potential partner gets scared off that gender equality is important to you, then he or she is not the one, because they don't want equality. That's saying something. That's a fucking red flag, and you better get out of there, man. You want someone who supports that, who's all for gender equality, because that is what's gonna give you a good life. If you're currently dating someone, please don't be scared to ask these questions to them, because you want to let them know that you're thinking these things and you want to know what they're thinking. It's better to know than to not know and then get super serious and see some misogynistic bullshit go down later. I find that too many people are afraid to ask questions that are important to them in fear of scaring their partner off, and that shouldn't be the case, because you need to be 100% yourself in a relationship. You need to be comfortable with who you are, and if they don't accept you, embrace that they're not the one, and you will find the one. You will find someone who accepts you for who you are. Trust me, the right person will stay, and the cherry on top, they'll have the same fucking mindset as you. How amazing is that? And if you're married, I'd just like to say, I'm not married myself. Second time I'm saying this, but this is some tips that I think would help. Communication is what makes the dream team work. If you didn't discuss all of this before you got married and you find yourself stuck, then don't be scared to have a sit down with your partner and talk from your heart. Let them know exactly how you feel, what you're thinking, everything that's going on. Share your thoughts about equality and how you can improve your married life. It's never too late. So please don't feel like you're stuck. Just sit down and have that heart to heart. And if your partner cares for you, trust me, there will be steps towards change. They will attempt to make a change in your relationship to make both of you feel comfortable. Which brings us to the end of the episode. Thanks, guys, for listening. Thank you for sticking around this far into the episode. I'd just like to update you guys on a few things. So, if you follow my Instagram, you know that I opened up a new Ask Morni. It's an anonymous page on there where people can ask me relationship questions, and I'll reply every Friday. I've been doing it for the past 2 weeks and it's been very successful. I've had people from Canada, Europe, India message me and asking me all these relationship questions or issues that they have. So thank you guys for that. I'll be continuing that for sure. I've also been regularly updating my blog with my blog posts, so please do check that out. My website is Morni Inspo, so that's MorniInspo.com. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is at M0RNI underscore. It's Morni underscore. I'm also working on a part-time course right now. I'm not announcing what it is just yet, but I've been working on it for the past month, and I still have a few more months to go. But after that, I'm going to be certified in something. So more on that later. I have some exciting stuff coming up. My birthday's coming up, but for sure, I really wanted to get this episode out by July, before the end of July. So I'm sorry again that I've been loafing and putting this off, but it's out now and I'm definitely going to try to work harder and push out another episode. I have so many ideas. I can't find time to just sit down and stay motivated and record, but this is exciting. So I'm going to keep this up for sure. So thank you guys so much for listening. If you guys have any ideas or concepts that I should cover, please DM me. I'll definitely check that out. And until the next episode, I'm signing out. Bye, guys.